大切にします。
見るんじゃなかった。くそ。
こういったものをもらうの初めてです。
え、お前の人気なら普通に貢がれているのかと。
私を何だと。
When it comes to Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten, there is just something so endearing and appealing and attractive about the anime. Like, as I'm watching the episode, first off, I'm fully enjoying my time. Like, I am 100% absorbed in the episode. For context, it's pretty early morning for me right now. As you guys see, there's not a lot of sunlight here. I just have like my actual lights on my face, but sunlight, there's like none. It's just like, it's dark outside. Drinking my coffee this morning, you know, a little breakfast as I'm watching the episode. And I'm like fully captivated into the episode, into this relationship that's brewing and growing between Mahiru and between Fujimiya. And I'm just like really into it. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, there is just something so endearing about the appeal of this anime. And here's kind of what I've boiled it down to, is like, it's like sitting and watching a gorgeous candle that was lit and watching the wick slowly burn. There's just something that's so deep-rooted in it that if you were just to sit there in a dark room and watch a candle burn, right? And as you sit there, you know, you're doing something actively by like literally watching this candle burn. But the slow burn of it allows you to think about like other things. You know what I mean? It's like it allows you to like daydream or, you know, kind of like really deep think about other things as you're doing this action. And I know that might be kind of like a bad example, but like as I'm watching it, it's this very slow, intentionally slow. Like there's some anime that like they have pacing issues, so it's like it's unintentionally slow. But this one is very intentionally slow about this, really about these two socially awkward people, right? And the reason I chose to use the word socially awkward is like they both have their subset of friends, but the faces that they put isn't inherently them, right? For the most part, Fujimiya is this kind of like awkward, off-putting guy who is verbally stating he has no interest in girls or girlfriend or whatever. And thankfully, he has a best friend, and his best friend actually has a girlfriend, which is actually really... I wrote that down. I was like, that's actually a really appealing thing that we don't really see in anime. The best friend is usually some geeky dude or some nerdy dude or some like, you know, hentai loving type dude or like some just weird virgin type dude. But this best friend actually is pretty mid-popular. Like he's popular enough to have a cute girlfriend who, you know, he has an interest in, but he's not like crazy about, you know what I mean? He's not like overbearing about it. He just happens to be the best friend with the girlfriend. And he doesn't kind of push that agenda on his friend, Fujimiya, too much, but he's like, hey man, like, yo, maybe just get a girlfriend, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a fun thing to have. You know what I mean? It'll change you a little bit. He's like, you know, maybe it'll do something about that scowling face that you always have, bro. So he's kind of like a normal dude, and I actually really appreciate that about Fujimiya's best friend as well. But I wrote that down, but not to get off track. But you know, you have this like really like slow burn anime. And, you know, for the face that Fujimiya puts, like, he does have an interest in girls, and he's kind of growing to really like Mahiru a little bit. Even himself this episode, he had to say like, oh, I shouldn't have looked at her, you know what I mean? Like, because he kind of feels himself like falling, you know, like getting like feelings, you know, in a way. He's kind of recognizing that he's feeling something, right? And I think that is something that is inherently special because he's just like this level of like awkwardness by not being able to deal with something that is unnative or something that is like, you know, untreaded territory for him specifically. Then on the other side of it is you have Mahiru, who is extremely popular and who's liked by a lot of people, a lot of guys, a lot of girls, you know, like she attracts a lot of attention around her. But you can tell that because she's not the true her, she puts on this facade, this face around the people that she kind of like inhabits herself and surrounds herself with. Because of that, because she is kind of putting on this facade and this version of herself that is not the true version of herself, because she puts that on, she doesn't really allow people to see the real her. Well, she doesn't allow her to be her true version of herself. She's very secured and guarded. Lots of walls up that maybe people can't really tell that there's walls up, but there's a lot of walls up there to kind of protect herself from feeling certain things too. And is probably a lot of deep-rooted mental gymnastics, mental health issues that she's had. Probably because of the strained relationship she has with her parents, for whatever reason, right? We've already established that, her parents are very well off, so they probably have specific expectations. And for her to probably have gotten her way, in a sense, like they probably put on very specific, expectations. You have to be valedictorian, you gotta be like top 10, you gotta be this, you gotta be that, you gotta get into college yourself. If you want to go be this independent person, you have to do all these things. So I'm sure she's facing a lot of a strenuous situation. So as we were watching the episode, and we see, first off, she saves a cat, and then you have Fujimiya recognize that he takes care of her, right? Like, I don't know if she's ever had somebody kind of like really care that deeply or really pay attention to her to that level before. He takes care of her. He heals her foot, but he bandages her foot, carries her home, all of that stuff. So that's kind of Mahiru kind of falling for Fujimiya a little bit, right? Then we have the interaction with them, cooking. He's like, hey, it would be really cool to have a fresh meal, you know what I mean? And she's like, pay half. And there's some little awkward interactions between them there. Then he finds out what her birthday is, and he's like, oh, her birthday's in 4 days. She's very guarded, so she doesn't really tell anybody about her birthday. Fujimiya, subconsciously, he wants to please her, so he's thinking about like, okay, what can I get her? He seeks out advice from her friends, from his best friend's girlfriend. He ends up with hand cream and a bear, a little 𝐒𝐿𝐴. I was like, that's really cool too. And he gives her the hand cream for practical use. I was like, okay, he went with the hand cream. And then he got her a bear that she's gonna definitely treasure for a long time as well too. So it's like this little slow burning love story that's accumulating over time as we're watching and enjoying it as a viewer. It's very special and endearing to me. And I think that's just something that is very unique to this anime. It's just like it's doing something intentionally, but it's doing something intentionally well as it kind of breeds this love story between these two individuals. So overall, I'm having a really good time watching it, and it's very enjoyable to me. And like I said, I've been very absorbed in it. So I would give this episode an easy 8 out of 10. I think there are some things that I could nitpick if I wanted to sit here and just be very specific about some of the things I don't like. But really, the things that I do like overtake it. But it's not a masterpiece. It's not without its faults. So I would say 8 out of 10 episode, but really good overall. And this is definitely one of those ones that people might be turned off by. But I think if people stick with it, I think there's going to be a reward at the end for us because of this slow burn and this slow build up to romance that I think will end in romance, which that's going to be the very not turning point, but that's going to be the very important thing at the end, is if this ends up never being anything and not ending up with them, really getting together. We don't need them to go, have a baby or anything, but if they simply get together at the end, I think that'll be a really, really high risk, high reward kind of thing at the end. And if they don't, I think this whole anime will be a fail. So it's gonna depend on how it ends, but I think that we'll get there. And I really have a good faith in that. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode down below. Let me know if you're dropping it. Let me know if you're continuing with it. Let me know if you agree with my words. Let me know if you disagree. And if you disagree, tell me why in the comments. If you do agree, tell me why in the comments below too. If you have nothing to say at all, just drop an emoji. Lets YouTube know that we're doing good work over here. We're doing the anime lord's work, and I appreciate that. All right, I'll see you guys next Saturday. Peace.